You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit. The views and opinions expressed on the following show are not necessarily the views and opinions of WHPS, its affiliates, management, or sponsors.
Good morning. Welcome to Lena's Lane. And today we got a really hot topic for you guys. We're talking about what would reparations look like. Got two lovely gentlemen next to me. We got Michael Griggs, professor of African American Studies at Wayne County Community College. And we have human rights activist Ramzu Yunus. And today, if you would like to call in on this topic, you can call in at 313-868-4336. And let's get started here, because I know these guys have a wealth of knowledge up here. Mr. Griggs, I'm going to start with you. What do you think reparations look like?
Wow, that's a big question. And there's so much involved, and it's so complex. I know oftentimes many people look at the economic benefits of reparations, but I think there should also be a psychological benefit. We should have something sociologically put in place.
Yes.
There should be some political dynamics connected to reparations, because money in itself won't solve all of the problems and stuff that confront us, because we have to remember that there was a process that brought us through slavery, but we never had a process to take us out. So simply, if you just give us money, some of the predictable outcomes that we have today, we'll still have them, maybe not at the same level, because the money will help with poverty and some of the economic challenges, but we'll still have challenges nevertheless. Raising children necessarily is not a money thing. It could be a psychological thing. So it's a host of things that would have to come into play with reparations and the outcomes and the benefits connected to it.
I definitely agree with that. What about you, Ramzu?
What does reparations look like? Reparations, to me, and in international law as well, reparations is the repair of a people. Our repair is beyond monetary compensation. Some people, when we say reparations, money, give us the money, show us the money. But our we've broken beyond money. We were broken away from power. We were put in slavery. That was the violation. So how do you fix the people who were put into a violation situation of slavery, forced servitude, by taking them out of that slavery, forced servitude, putting them back in the position they were in? We were in a position of power, not in a position of being in poverty. Once we have power, then the poverty situation can be alleviated. So reparations looks like us being back in power, in control of our own economic, social, and cultural development.
Okay, step one, if we were allowed to receive these reparations, who do you guys think should be responsible for the distribution of reparations?
Well, since it was the United States of America that imposed slavery on us, then ironically, even though we fight for reparations, we too would have to compensate ourselves, just like the rest of reparations are distributed. Like, we pay, and our parents paid for Japanese internments because they were taxpayers. My father and mother never, harmed a Native American, but when they got reparated, their taxes went to pay for them and, to help the Jews in Israel. So since we are all taxpayers, collectively, it would come from the pot of the taxes that we pay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I was distracted.
That's no problem. Who do you think should be in charge of distribution?
Distribution of reparations, of course, the violators are in charge of the distribution. Should we depend on the violators to do so? Ultimately, no, because we can't depend on something that's not dependable. You can't depend on the mercy of the merciless. So ultimately, of course, the responsibility is on those who have been violated, us, to give ourselves reparations by changing the political apparatus is indeed a political situation. We depend on the political machine, the political power or authority to give us reparations. But who puts those people in authority to be able to make that decision? We do. So
Right.
we are the ones who put them in power to make that decision, and they don't make that decision, we take them out of power and put something else there, or entity or situation for ourselves to benefit ourselves and give us reparations, period.
Right. As on a monetary level, do you think there's even a monetary value we can put on that?
There's no monetary value on freedom. Freedom is freedom. Like I said, reparations in international law, it comes from the right of remedy. Remedy means remedying a situation that we've been put in. It includes poverty. So money doesn't just solve our situation we've been put in. It's a freedom thing. It's a power thing. Being put back in the position they broke us away from. Put us back in control of our own environment, our own economic, social, and cultural development. That's reparations. So to repair that, of course, there's no value on freedom in general. But monetary-wise, I don't look at the money, so there's no value to put on it. Freedom, it can cost you a lot. It can cost you lives. It has been costing us lives. So the value is valueless.
What would be the first step, Mr. Griggs, that you think we should take when it comes to reparations?
The first step,
Yes.
again, it's a lot to go into it.
Oh, that's
right?
okay. We got a whole hour.
right. It's a lot to go into it. Okay, let's say from the monetary
Yes.
standpoint. So there are a few professors and quite a few other folks who came up with certain numbers, right? Kramer from the University of UConn, he came up with $19 trillion. And what he did was he counted the number of black folks who were enslaved between 1619 and 1865. And he came up with a minimum wage of roughly about 11 cents an hour at that time. And since we were always enslaved, he added that 11 cents for 24 hours a day, because we always had to perform at any time. And he came up with 19 trillion and that was with 3% interest. Now, if you look at the number of black folks in America, roughly 40 million. If you gave that to every individual, that come out to about $475,000. But of course, you have taken the fact that maybe they would just give it to families, because kids wouldn't, qualify as individuals. So if you gave it to family, that's about 10 million people, which come out to about $1.9 million. And that's just from 1619 to 1865. That's just monetary. That's not no
Right.
psychological damage. That's not we couldn't own land. That doesn't deal with anything about keeping us perpetually ignorant. We couldn't read. All of those other things that come along with people being injured. He just looked at just people who would be working from 1619 to 1865 at 11 cents an hour. So that would be a first step, that 19 trillion, but then you have to add in the rest of the damages. And I don't even know how you can really, as Ram said, qualify.
Right.
To what degree, the castration, the lynching, the people set on fire, the rape.
The babies.
How do you even qualify something like that and the damage that was done? But that was just an economic base point that some scholars been looking at. One guy from Duke, Dougherty, he came up with 14 trillion, and Kramer came up with 19 trillion, which is really only 1 year GDP of America. So it's only 1 year. That's our regular GDP. Could pay that cost. And again, this would come from taxpayers and stuff like that. So that would probably be the first step. The psychological and sociological and the political dynamics, that's a whole nother thing. I don't even know how you could measure that or qualify.
Exactly.
Yeah, to what degree the damage. But that would be, you said, your first step, so probably that'd be the
Yeah.
easiest step to take is the economic one.
And I think it's important that we're having this conversation right now, a topic, because there's a lot of people, even mostly I find out that there's a lot of black people that's doing okay by the system, by the government, who seems to don't even think that we need to have reparations, don't even bring up the topic because I'm doing all right.
Right.
You know
right.
what I'm saying? So it's mostly like that. What would be the first step for you, Ramzu?
The first step in implementing reparations?
Exactly.
Well, like I said, the first step, give us our power back. Give us some control. I don't believe in monetary reparations. When you look at international law, this is a human rights issue, so human rights violations. Reparations comes from the right of remedy for violations. And that remedy includes reparations, monetary reparations, or repairing in various ways. But it includes also acknowledgement of the wrong that was done. It includes cessation of that violation.
Right.
and guarantees of non-repetition of that violation, and they cannot guarantee non-repetition of a violation that still is underway. We're still being violated. The violation was slavery, forced servitude. Once we were let off the plantation, we had nowhere to go, so we were forced back into servitude. They said, okay, you're free from this so-called forced labor, being whipped to pick cotton, etc., and serve our government system, serve our economic system. So you're free from that slavery. Now you go to the gate of the plantation. There's nowhere to go. So you have to turn right back around and say, hey, I ain't got nowhere to go. Ah, okay, come back. Now go back to serving us.
Right.
We'll call it a job, and from that job, you will use the money we give you, the tokens you will give it right back to us. So you're still in a position of forced servitude. So they haven't stopped what they did to break us, which requires reparations. So in order, reparations begins with freedom. As the late Secretary General of the United Nations, Kofi Annan, said in one of his statements to the world, he said, human rights begin with independence of that people. So your human rights are still being violated until you become an independent people. We are not an independent people. We are a colonized, subject people inside of American democracy, ruled by the majority. The majority is not black, so we are just subjects of that rule. So until we become rulers ourselves, we cannot be repaired. So it begins with giving us an independent political control so we can control not just the political system, but the economic, social, and cultural development that we have. Now we're repaired people. We back before they interfered with our lives. We're repaired now, and we can repair ourselves. Otherwise, what's giving me some stimulus inside of your system, giving me something that can benefit your system, and I'm still broken, I'm still a subject in your system, that's not repaired. So it begins with giving us some control so that we can go and develop on our own without any interruptions, because they cannot guarantee non-repetition of violations. Because first of all, our position, our existence is a violation. Police brutality, all the other violations they do on a daily basis, how can they stop that? So there can be no non-repetition guaranteed. In studying in international law dealing with reparations and the right of remedy, non-repetition is part of that whole remedy process. Monetary compensation, just giving some money, that's not part of the process of reparations or remedy. Our leadership has given us, and those who wanted to dictate the way reparations would go, the discussion of, or the context reparations is looked at, they have given us the wrong context. So even if we get reparations, we're jumping off into the wrong lane in the first place.
Correct. I know a lot of people say to me, well, if you give black people the money, they're just going to mess it up, like they did their stimulus check on crab boils and stuff like that. How do y'all feel about that? People who are not mentally capable of handling that amount of money, and if they receive that amount of money, how does that look?
Well, that's been a concern. I think it's been a side point, really, because that's nothing you can address collectively, like with the snap of a finger.
Right.
But I do think, I teach my black psychology class. We go over economics, and I do talk about that right now. Our attitudes towards us giving each other our money and empowering us. That's
Correct.
problematic within
Yes.
itself, because right now the average African American gives 95% of all of their disposable income. We give it to white families. So that's 95 cents out of every dollar we invest in white people, and we only invest a nickel in our own people, in our own communities where our children play and when they go to school.
Right.
So I do think that would be reflected on a larger level. If we did get a big check, I don't think everybody would do it, but I think a lot of people would engage in the reckless spending that we do on a micro level. I think you would just see it on a macro level.
Yeah. And as far as mentally healing, how does that look like for you guys? Like, Ram, how does it look like? How do we mentally heal with that reparations?
No, I wanted to address the
Okay,
first
go right
question
ahead.
right
Go right
quick.
ahead.
He said some people say we're just wasting money. We're not mentally ready to handle reparations. Well, I agree we're not mentally, as a whole, we're not mentally ready, but we're not even socially ready to handle reparations, monetary reparations. My definition is different. But monetary reparations, yeah, we all will spend it unwisely for us socially, because the money is not going to rotate in our community. Right now, in general, every city, we're in Detroit right now, the money all of us spend is being spent in the wrong way, because that money is going right outside of Detroit. We spend $90 million plus a week on food alone in Detroit, and that 90 million goes outside of Detroit. Detroit doesn't even look like 90,000 a week comes into Detroit. So money's always been spent unwisely. That's why black people, we need our own system for that reparations money. That's why we need our own political control, our own economic development, our own economic system. So now that money will rotate and stay within that system, and it will be compounded on top of each other. That's what a proper situation of spending in general, not just for black people, for any nation,
Correct.
city, county, state, or whatever, is to rotate that money within itself. So black people, we definitely don't rotate money, so it will always been spent unwisely, not by those going out buying Jordans and fancy cars and stuff, but by us just buying necessities of life, because those necessities, we don't produce them.
Right.
We don't distribute them, and we don't produce them. So we will always be wasting money. Again, it all goes back to controlling our own political and economic system for anything to work properly for black people. So yes, we are not mentally ready, and we're not even socially prepared and ready and structured to even handle reparations, just like we're not structurally and socially able to handle the little money we have now in our pockets.
Yeah, I appreciate that. We're going to take a quick break. If you guys want to call in at 313-868-4336. Call in at 313-868-4336. We're going to take a quick break. Be right back with you.
Hi, excuse me, do you have anything for paint?
Straight down that aisle.
Thank you.
Young lady, this here's what you need.
Ringmaster?
Ringmaster rubbing oil.
How does it work?
By promoting circulation since 1950. Massage it in for best results.
Ringmaster took care of my back pain.
Ringmaster got rid of my knee pain, too.
Wow, it sounds like I'm late to the party. I'll take one.
Find Ringmaster at CVS, Davis Drugs, and other fine stores.
Welcome back to Lena's Lane. Again, we're here with Michael Griggs, professor of African American Studies at Wayne County Community College, and human rights activist Ramzu Yunus. If you want to call in at 313-868-4336. And we're talking about today what reparations will look like for us. One of the things I would like to see myself personally, I'm giving my own little 2 cents in it, is that I think we need land. I think we need territory. I think we need like a few states. If they don't want to treat us right and they don't want us in their area, I think if they give us a few states to our own and let us handle them ourselves, I think it would really work. What do you guys think about that?
I think that's been one of the asks when people ask for reparations, like when, the Jews, they wanted their own land. Because typically when you have reparations, you come to the point that you no longer trust other people being over you. They have wronged you to such an extent that you want a complete break away from those folks. And I think that's another part of reparations, because that's been typically the ask from people who've been violated to such a degree. They want to be away from those folks. So the Jews never got to the point, well, will you just give us this and we're okay with you still being over us, even though you baked us and others. No, it was like we want a complete break. So that is a typical ask, and for a lot of people, that is what's on the table. A lot of folks would like the very thing that you said. Something separate, something that we can run, have complete political and economic and social and cultural control over, in order for this to be right and just.
I think so too. I think that land part is real important, and I think we can definitely handle it. I mean, once we realize our power and our strengths, because we basically, everything in this world was invented and created by us. So I'm pretty sure we can handle that.
But do we, like many, that's definitely part of reparations, having our own land,
Right.
everything, our own society to run, our own system to run. But do we have to go off somewhere separate? We already separate.
Right.
White folks don't want to live near us, period, so automatically they leave from wherever we go anyway, leaving us there with our own land, our own territory, our own separation. So we don't have to go off in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the forest, or the middle of nowhere and create something new. Detroit is black. Wherever the audience is listening from, whatever state or city they're in, that's black. Because white folks, even in that city, are going to move away from the part of the city that you're in, so now you have your own territory, your own land right there. Stand up and govern it where you are. Why should we have to go anywhere? We have a full Detroit. Look at the infrastructure. We already have all the buildings, highways, electrical grid, water, enough land to grow food for us. Everything is already here. Why move somewhere else when we already a separate territory? We're just under their system. We're following their system. Break away from their system and run it ourselves, and we have our territory. Chicago, whether it be the east side, north side, south side, west side, or whatever, we add, even if it's 6 blocks, it's already a black territory where we live.
Correct.
Stand up and control that.
But this is my question about that, Ram. Maybe you can help me with it. Okay, so we're Detroit, but we're also Michigan. So how would that state of Michigan give us this small territory for us to be in control? Wouldn't Michigan still be in control of our laws and our policies?
Michigan is not in control of Detroit. The people of Detroit are in control of Detroit. Michigan is not in control. Every entity, state, county, is a sovereign entity itself. This city is ran by the people of Detroit. If the people of Detroit decide to take this as an independent entity for themselves, they can do that. Michigan, the overall population of Michigan cannot decide for Detroit. The people decide where they live. If a white person in Lansing or somewhere, wherever they at, don't live here, they can't make decisions. It's a democracy on the territory where you dwell at. That's how cities are formed. The state doesn't have to sanction the formation of a city. The population in a city said, look, we this little area of the city, we got a majority of us that agreed to carve it out for our own selves and call it this side, West Detroit, East Detroit, whatever we want to call it. So it's always the population where they dwell that have the ultimate political power. Nobody has the political power to make those decisions.
So you don't think it'll be that, do you think it would not be that hard for them to say, hey, Michigan, like the governor, let's say Whitmer forever, for instance, if Whitmer was like, we're not going to give them Detroit because we're Michigan.
Whitmer doesn't have that power. See, we got to understand the power dynamic. We think that the governor, the mayor, even the president has power. They have absolutely no power. Political power is inherent in the people. They have authority that was granted by the people. And at any given time, the people can revoke that authority. Power never transitions into the hands of an individual, or even a few, whether it be a council or whatever, or a Congress. Power never transfers from the people to those positions.
Right.
Authority transfers to those positions. We give them authority. Say any given time, we make the decisions, not them. We can say if a city can be free. We can even decide if a person goes to jail if we organize ourselves properly. That's why they say the people versus when you go to court. I know you're not a delinquent person, but I'm saying you're a good person, everybody. But if you go to court, it's the people versus. Even if they say the state, if you look it up, it means the people versus.
It does.
So if the people properly organize themselves, actually the people can let these people who we are crying to get free out if enough people got behind that. So it's always us. The mayor, the governor, they make decisions based on the authority we give them. If we don't agree with their decisions, we can revoke their authority and revoke that and reverse that decision at any given time.
Exactly. I know, being a former paralegal, working for corporate attorneys, you know, attorneys for the city of Highland Park, attorneys for the city of Ecorse, attorneys for the city of Detroit. What I did find out is that every city is a corporation, and the largest stakeholders of the corporation are the people. Are the people. So that's one of the main things I've been trying to get out there in my community as well.
I want to quote something from, I know we're in Highland Park here, but it's the principle is everywhere.
Right.
In Detroit, the first thing the Detroit City Charter says, which is a constitution for the city, the first thing it says is the Detroit city government is a service institution that recognizes its subordination to the people of Detroit. Subordination, under, ordination, orders, meaning they are a service institution that are under the orders of the people of Detroit. So the people of Detroit organize themselves properly. They give instructions to the officials. But the same principles apply to every city all across America and in the world. People have the authority. The officials are just servants. They are a part of a service institution to serve us. Whatever we say, jump up, sit down. If we say it collectively, you better jump up and sit down, or you are fired.
Exactly.
They follow our instructions. So whenever we instruct something to happen, it must happen if we do it collectively in a democratic manner. So Mayor Duggan or Whitmer, whoever's the mayor, they don't really have that decision if we want to collectively come together and exercise direct democracy ourselves.
Correct. And I've known in history, when black people, like in Philadelphia, when we do try to uprise and try to do stuff for ourselves, that's looked at as a revolt. You know, historically, it's looked at as a revolt. During these times right now, I mean, we're going through some crazy times, historical times right now. We're living through a pandemic. We're living through the George Floyd police brutality and all that. Right now, do you think that they'll be willing to let us have that authority?
Well, revolt is what they say is American as apple pie.
Correct.
That's how America was founded. We have, if you look it up, right to rebel, right to revolution. That's a right. Even in most of our, at least 34, 35 state constitutions, the first thing it gives the people is a right to revolt. It says all political power is inherent in the people, and they have the right to alter or abolish government whenever they deem it necessary for their safety and happiness. The words might be altered a little bit, but even Detroit, before they took away the meaning of it, but still, I'm not Detroit, Michigan, the first thing the Constitution says is all political power is inherent in the people. And they used to say the same thing, that they have a right to alter and abolish. That's revolt against the system, because that's how America was founded. The founding document, the Declaration of Independence, is a document of revolt, and it says it's the people's right. Then it says not only right, it's their duty to revolt against a system that they don't feel safe or happy under. So it's our duty to be revolutionaries. And revolutionary is not a unlawful term. It's the law.
Correct.
It's a right, and it's a duty that they put upon us to do so. So whether they come in against that, then they're breaking the law then. But we're just answering nature's call by throwing off what affects us negatively. That's what nature does.
All right. This is so interesting and so, you know, such a wonderful topic that we need to be discussing, but we're going to have to take one more quick break. I'll see you in 2 and 2 like Chuck Wilber.
Watkins Broadcasting is going worldwide. Now you can watch Detroit's own WHPR on your TV from anywhere in the world. No matter where you are, you can stay in the know with WHPR TV and Roku. You can get your easy-to-install Roku box from wherever you shop for your entertainment gear. Once your Roku box is connected to your TV and internet, go to the channel store on the home menu of the Roku box. Enter WHPR TV in the search engine and add it to your channels. That's it. That's all you need to get the best in entertainment, news, and talk, no matter where you are. Roku brings all of your favorites to your TV. Netflix, Hulu Plus, Crackle, HBO Go, and now WHPR TV, Detroit Live. You're watching WHPS, Highland Park, Detroit.
107.3 FM, WVIE.
How would you like for this to be you? Well, it could be. If you have the desire to be an independent radio personality, paying yourself, this is your chance. WVIE 107.3 FM and WHPR 88.1 FM are looking for people with outgoing personalities who can attract sponsors. Launch your career on a radio station with the latest technology in broadcasting. WVIE 107.3 and WHPR 88.1. If you're into talk, R&B, oldies, jazz, gospel, or soca, Radio We Can See is where you need to be.
88.1 FM, WHPR.
Have your own radio show. Block time is available. Call 313-868-6612. Radio We Can See, broadcasting live in the Virgin Islands and Detroit. Find us on Comcast Channel 90 and worldwide on Fire Stick, Roku, Apple TV, and all of your favorite platforms.
Welcome back to Lena's Lane again here at WHPS TV in Highland Park. You can tune in on TV 90 Comcast or go to 313watkins.com and you can get some go live right there and look at it live. So I want to continue talking about the land situation with the reparations, and I want Michael Griggs to elaborate on that for me.
It's what I mentioned earlier, how complex it is. Because
Right.
some people take the position that Ram put forth, like, you know, we should stay exactly where we are, where we've been invested in certain neighborhoods that we know and that we've grown to love. Some people take the position that we should have some land that can, if nothing else, can be a manufacturing center. Each particular area of the country produces certain things. What if we wanted to have an agricultural center? That would be more difficult to do in a city like Detroit compared to some land that's more agriculturally rich, you know, for us to do. If we said we wanted to produce our own food or whatever we want to do, that's why it's kind of complex, because reparations, it poses a lot of things for a lot of people, because a lot of people are interested, some economic, some say we should focus on education, some on politics. That's why it's a whole smorgasbord of things that come with reparations. It's not, you know, like this one thing that will solve all our problems. It's a host of things.
Yes.
And I don't think it should be either or. It could be both. It could be we have land someplace that could be an economic center for those people who want to go there, a manufacturing place, and it could be what Ram said. It could be where we are and we control the political dynamics in that particular given community. So it's, again, it's complex.
Now, I'm in agreement with you on that. What I'm saying shouldn't be a prerequisite. We got to go somewhere.
Right,
You know,
right.
we have to, we'll take over where we at. Me, myself, I don't want to be in this country. We should be given the option of going to Africa, wherever we think we came from or
Right.
want to go. We should be, have that option as well. So, you know, just governing ourselves here is not the only way I look at it.
That's
I think
right.
we should have a choice. You know,
Yeah.
they had a choice where they sent us to. They sent us to Jamaica. They sent us to the South, the
Yeah.
North. They sent us to this state, that state. So we should have a choice on where we should be able to go. But, of course, I would like to see us, as a collective, put forth the leadership, maybe put forth ideas and let the public decide, the whole population decide, okay, then those who want to go this way, you go that way, those who want to go this way, go that way. But being a powerful people and being able to govern ourselves and make decisions on our own, we'll be able to make those kinds of decisions.
That's right. That's right.
And I think we're very capable of making those decisions as well. I also think that student loans should be wiped out, and we should get free health care as well. We definitely deserve all of those things. I was talking to, well, actually I was on the internet posing this situation, what does reparations look like, and there was a young lady from South Carolina, I can't remember her name. She told me, being a biracial person, she said to next person, because you're not even black. And she said that, you know, saying that biracial people don't qualify for reparations, or does that mean I get half? Does that mean my children get 3/4? How does that look? You know, how do they determine who's black in America?
Yeah.
Well, but you know the one drop rule or whatever. You have been negatively affected. Period. Just like everybody else have been negative. You consider black. White folks not going to call you white.
No.
So if you're negatively affected the same way 100% black person, or a lot of us are not even 100% because the rape and all that kind of stuff that went on. So, but still, we're treated as black. We're affected as black, no matter if you're light skinned, dark skinned, or whatever. So you are due repair from that damage that has been caused to your position, being in a position in life, labeled as a black person.
I mean, because basically our ancestral, our families, a lot of them were raped, and you know they were all biracial. I mean, plenty of them.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. That's why it's so important. You know, I have a bias teaching African American studies. You know, I want everybody to take a class so they can get some sense of who and what they are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even that statement by the person who said that, you know, to be an African American by definition means that you're mixed.
Right.
There's no 100%
right.
African American, and so there's no difference between, you know, your background and my background. Even though I may have more seniority as it relates to that mixture than you.
Right.
You with me? But we're all the same family.
Yes.
So it's confusion on a sociological level about who is black and who is not, and that confusion, you know, that confusion is part of the master plan because it creates division.
Right.
See? So now we look at some of us who are recently mixed compared to others who was mixed a few generations, and somehow they're different people. They're all the same people.
Just like the situation of a lot of black women think Cardi B is not black. Me, myself, personally think any Afro-Latino is also, you know, the same descendants of slaves.
Yeah, because we hung up on where the boats took us to, and not where the boats picked us up.
Exactly.
And that's the confusion within itself.
Exactly,
you know?
just a different
I got
stop.
dropped off in Puerto Rico. You got dropped in from Brazil, but we all came from the same place.
Exactly. Haiti, whatever.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, well, reparations anyway is a worldwide thing. The same people that violated us here in America violated the whole world. You know, Africa's even crying out for reparations. They owe Africa reparations. Africa's not even straight. You know, so many people, Asians, South Americans, whatever, the same people are violators of human rights of the world population. So they are due. No matter, but everybody's black if they say that. In the United Nations, they've termed us Afro descendants. And it says about 250 or 300 million of us or more in this hemisphere that came out of that slavery situation. So all those descendants are due reparations, period, no matter where you are.
So I'm going to bring up a touchy subject right now for people who African American studies, human rights activists. A lot of people are, you know, they're on the fence about this topic, and I know this is hard for me to bring it up, but in as far as the trade went, the slave trade went, were we actually traded off by other Africans? And if so, if that's a fact and it's true, does Africa owe us some part of the reparations as well?
Well, some of the African countries have validated that position. For example, Ghana. When Clinton was when he was president, Bill Clinton, him and President Rawlings made an agreement that the African Americans can have dual citizenship with Ghana, and they created this program called FAHANCRA, and FAHANCRA was to set aside a lot of land and stuff that if we wanted to take part in, you know, coming back and taking part of their culture, they would give us land and help to assist in us kind of regaining a sense of self that was taken away from us. So yeah, a lot of the African nations have talked about that as well, and they recognize they played a role The role was not the same. It's kind of convoluted when we look at history. A lot of the African countries were manipulated and seduced.
Yes.
And yeah. Because one thing we forget, our history is really different. It's totally different psychic thinking, right? So before Europeans came into Africa, I don't care if it's North Africa, South, West, or East, the Africans didn't have a concept of a prison. Like I studied Egypt, I studied in Egypt, so I teach Egyptology. You know, we got ancient pyramids and all type of temples. You will never find a prison. So if somebody violated some of the social norms, that person will be put in what we would call slavery, meaning they will work that debt off, whatever the damage was. If I burnt your house down, I will work to repay the damage that I did. I'm not inferior. You don't castrate me. You don't rape my wife. This was our concept of slavery. So when the Europeans came over and they said, well, you know, that guy or those people are working off a debt. Can we pay for that debt? And they come work for us. We said, fine. We didn't know at that time they were taking them to some other place thousands of miles away. That they were going to be deemed inferior and subhuman, raped, castrated, and all of that. But even though the Africans did know it, they still played an indirect part of chattel slavery. So a lot of them felt compelled to do something about it. And they have offered certain set-asides for their role in slavery.
Great. That was a great explanation.
Excellent explanation.
Yes, it was great. Excellent explanation. I loved it.
Yeah, like you said, we have to look at the context of what things happened, the context of that environment at the time. Also, what was the situation? Were they under duress? Like even here they say you do things under duress, you're not blamable. We don't know the type of situation that the Europeans put those African societies in where they had to do that. They was a lot of them were forced into those situations economically and military threat, etc. So we do a lot of things now to each other because of duress, because of a situation that they put us under. That's why all the black on black violence, crime situation, there's no such thing as black on black violence. It's always white on black violence because somebody created that condition for the black people to do black on black violence. They're doing it under duress. They're doing it in a psychological conditioning that was created by this system. So there's no black on black crime, period. It's white on black always, even if it's black person.
Right, because it was caused by the duress.
It was caused by that. So the duress that those African countries were under, Professor knows more, that's his area of studying, that history. There was certain elements to their participation in that enslavement. But ultimately the blame is absolved from them.
How do you think we're going to heal from this duress?
That's
a tough question, right?
That's a tough question.
Because we got to heal in order to succeed.
We do.
To me, first of all, to heal, you got to get yourself out of condition that broke you, that caused the illness.
Right.
I'm trying to heal myself from diabetes, and I'm still eating Debbie cakes and all kinds of fat sausages and bacon and all kinds of fat food. I'm not trying to heal. So they put us in this condition. So for us to heal, we must get out of the situation that created that condition. The situation that created it was European white domination. We got to get ourselves out of that domination. Then we can heal properly.
Yeah. I totally agree. Healing is that's a big thing for me, the healing part, and how does it look like? Because with the reparations, I think it'll be easier for us to heal. That's one of the big things I think.
And like we started off, I said, and I don't want this to be remiss by the audience, that, you know, it was a process that took us through slavery.
Right.
But we never had a process to take us out. So when we talk about healing, you know, like in my psychology class, I say, listen, black people need a new psychology. Because right now we're operating off of the European psychology. We need a new sociology, a new economic paradigm, a new political philosophy. We need all of those things in order for us to be whole and to be in our right mind. And as a result, you know, if we're talking about reparations, if we don't look at the embodiment of all of those things, then we will simply duplicate a lot of the things that we see that we don't like on the streets today, regardless if we get reparations or not. We'll still do those things.
Yeah, that's why I think it should happen in the context. So we should have self-determination. That's the #1 principle in international law: self-determination. A little bit further than beyond the Kwanzaa definition, but the definition in international law, in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights, which was ratified by the United States in 1992, which means it became the top law. The thing it says is all people have the right of self-determination. By virtue of that right, they freely determine their political status and freely pursue their economic, social, and cultural development. So once we have self-determination, all the economic things, the social things, the cultural development, we control all of that. So it's easy to repair in that environment.
Correct. Okay. One more break before Lena's Lane is over. Again, 313-868-4336 if you want to elaborate on this topic.
Hi, excuse me, do you have anything for paint?
Straight down that aisle.
Thank you.
Young lady, this here's what you need.
Ringmaster?
Ringmaster rubbing oil.
How does it work?
By promoting circulation since 1950. Massage it in for best results.
Ringmaster took care of my back pain.
Ringmaster got rid of my knee pain too.
Wow, it sounds like I'm late to the party. I'll take one.
Find Ringmaster at CVS, Davis Drugs, and other fine stores.
Okay, we're back, and the last thing I want to talk about first, again, we're back with Ramzu Yunus, human rights activist, and Michael Griggs, professor of African American Studies. I want to leave with this last question, which is an important question to me. Do you guys actually think we'll see reparations in the next 50 years, Ram?
I know we will see reparations because I'm going to give us reparations. We're going to give ourselves reparations. Now, if we depend on the same people that put us in this condition to give us reparations, you won't see it in 50 years, you won't see it in 50,000 years, you won't see it in 50 million years. But if you follow your human rights, then you can receive it whenever you decide, whenever we decide we should have it. It's a political decision. We're waiting on the government to give it. Who controls the government? We must take authority of that government and give it to ourselves. All political powers inherent in the people. Black people in particular have the right of self-determination that we were not offered. We were not given that right to practice. Meaning we can stand up we are and say, look, we want to govern ourselves. The same thing, meaning of all political powers inherent in the people. We control political apparatus. If that same political apparatus that we keep crying to give us reparations is not going to So no, 50 years, 50,000 years, it won't happen. But I say it's going to happen in 50 days if we can get ourselves together and take proper control and give ourselves reparations. 2 months ago, they took over the city of Seattle. If those people wanted to, they could have gave themselves reparations. They were in control of those buildings and the assets of Seattle. They could have leveraged those assets of Seattle. If Detroit is worth $600 billion in real estate value, what's Seattle worth? So, and overall, where black people live, we have $15 trillion plus in real estate value. What if we just leverage that real estate value alone where we live? We took control, then leveraged that value and gave ourselves reparations. That's in our hands. We can do it tonight if enough people watch this show, unite and stand up tonight, and we take over our cities, and we'll cash in these assets and leverage them tomorrow, and we'll have reparations by the end of the week.
What do you think, Michael?
Well, I think so too. I think we will see it. I don't know how many years it would be. It could be 50 years. But, you know, from this Mecca Center of Reparations with Reparation Ray, who started this, he was on the forefront years before anybody else was really talking about it. And then Conyers took it on and built H.R. 40, and I think it was 1989. And then after he left Congress, now Sheila Lee, and more candidates, you saw the presidential candidates talking about reparations. And then I know Ta-Nehisi Coates met with Congress talking about looking into studying reparations and the costs and the effects associated with it. So I see more now historically on the forefront of people talking about reparations than I ever have. So I think it's just a matter of time if we keep pushing that envelope. And it seems like more people are joining the cause of reparations and pushing that envelope. And we're calling people out. Who, you know, some of the candidates who were for it and who wasn't for it, you know, because now the Democrats realize how important the black vote is, even more so.
Because Bernie didn't even want to
Bernie didn't, and he came under fire from a lot of black folks.
Bernie didn't even want to.
Yeah, you know, and before, people used to poo-poo it, like, whatever.
Those are pacification tactics. I hate that. Those are pacification tactics of controlled opposition. Controlled opposition. Act like you're for something. Get everybody behind you, then bleed their attention off. You know, when we're on the verge of revolution. That looting, like some black lives, some activists said in Chicago, that looting was reparations, actually, because when somebody violates your human rights, they forfeit their assets. Just like if you break the law, you forfeit your assets, they take them from you. Germany violated the human rights of the Jews, so their assets were forfeited. They were taken by those who had the power to take them. So reparations is in the hands of the people, and they know that they're in the hands of the people. We can have a whole big looting thing nationwide, and we're taking our reparations back. I'm not suggesting to do criminal activities, but I'm saying what's in the hands of the people. They're trying to diffuse that situation because they know what's coming. It's historical trends and nature trends dictate that the people that are suppressed and oppressed, eventually they're going to erupt. So when it comes near that time of eruption, you want to try to diffuse them by offering solutions or beginning to talk about the situation, to bleed off that tension from the people that actually get together and taking reparations as they have the power to actually do. So discussing it in Congress. Look at John Conyers. They bled him off until he died. They never got reparations. They refused to even study the situation of reparations. Democrats and Republicans. So we can't rely on this system. Mice cannot rely on this system of snakes. Those mice are foolish for relying on the snakes system to give them reparations. Those mice must realize they have the power of mice determination. Self-determination. Govern themselves as mice and give themselves the reparations that are due. We must give ourselves the reparations. We must take control where we have power to take control and give ourselves reparations on a city level, not national. National is a white majority. Where we live in our cities, we are black majorities. Like North Carolina City decided to give reparations. That's on a city level. The assets are in these cities. 15 trillion. New York City alone is worth $5 trillion in real estate value. What if the black people took over New York City? That's $5 trillion to leverage to give themselves some reparations instead of begging a federal government where the majority is white and we're only 12 to 14% of the population. Will never happen, not in a trillion years. Let's go ahead and take the power and give it to ourselves. Forget Congress, forget Ta-Nehisi Coates, forget Glove. I love these brothers and sisters and stuff. First of all, a rich man can't represent poor interests in the first place. That's impossible. So get us to talk about it. Get the poor people who are really suffering and see if we can wait on Congress while they're living in mansions and we living on the streets talking about reparations. No, we want it right now. We're going to take it right now, and the decision is ours.
But let me respond to that too, though, because I know a lot of times we operate and deal with people who have like minds. Most people, you know, we do that. But just keep in mind, right? I also teach black politics. We cannot expect anybody to operate off anything if they don't know about it. We're demanding the people who occupy positions of power, who occupy the bully pulpit, to share that information with so the masses can learn about it and then act on it.
Right.
So people who don't know it, they're not going to do anything. You with me?
Mm-hmm.
And those people who do have power and influence, we want them to use that power and influence to share things that the masses need to know.
And that goes back to like what Ram said, and what we talked about earlier. Like normally when black people get to a certain caste, a society, they think it's okay. They
Right.
think they survived, and they forget about the people who are still struggling in the hood. And,
Yeah.
and I see this every day.
Yeah, and we can't castigate the ones who do quote unquote arrive and try to be active on these issues.
Right.
You with me? Because we need
Exactly.
them. We need the rich, the middle class, and the poor to
Mm-hmm.
work in concert solving the problems that confront black people.
yeah.
Because those people who occupy certain political positions of power come with a lot of influence as well.
Correct.
And we need that. We need all hands on deck to benefit us.
Right,
So
and
we
that's
don't
the
want
problem.
class to separate us. We don't want people who think people are mixed to separate us. We need to be in concert, focused on keeping our eyes on the prize.
A friend of mine said, who's doing good, he's doing great in life, and he says he don't want his taxes to be raised to give us reparations.
Yeah.
Because I can understand that statement, because in this context, the way the system is ran under their economic development, once again I must add, they have to tax the citizens. So if you get reparations, they may have to end up taxing the citizens. But in our own economic development, we don't even need taxes in the first place.
Right.
Taxes is part of their economic system, which is erroneous and evil and wrong. They the ones started the war.
And it's
for-
not even
over
a part of the
taxes.
Constitution.
It's
Let's
not even a part
get-
of
yeah,
that. That
it's
stuff
not
is
even part of the
illegal in first place. So
Constitution.
I understand him. He's based it on the situation that we have been unlawfully put in as far as taxation.
Correct. Okay. This was such a great show. I'm so happy to have both of you guys here. Thank you, Ramzu. Thank you, Michael Griggs. I definitely want you two to
Anytime.
come
Can we
back.
give our websites?
Yes, give out your website before we leave out.
iunite.app, www.iunite.app. Then you also see the links to Reparations Bank as well on there, reparations.app. We have an app for reparations, because we are taking our reparations. It's in our hands. We are power. Ye are God. Stop accepting the persons of the wicked. Psalms 82.
Ashe. All right. Thank you guys for joining in. See you again next week. Thank you, Michael Griggs. Please come back again on Lena's Lane, 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. You guys have a powerful day.